I'm sorry. Representative Hodges, question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Morrell. I do have a couple of questions and a couple of concerns I hope that y'all can clarify to me. We already have the law on the books, as you know, and I got staff to check. 15 people have been prosecuted recently as last year for bestiality. And so I guess I'm asking why are we making a whole new law?
Well, I think there is no question that people can be prosecuted under the current law. There is a concern that other people, if in conversations with law enforcement, in order to fill the loopholes the law doesn't cover, they try very diligently to try and use the loopholes that exist in the current bestiality law to prosecute people under animal cruelty. There are significant challenges there because unless the animal is actually damaged, you really don't meet the threshold in the animal cruelty statute. So I would challenge, yes, there are 15 people that were charged. There could have been 150 people that should have been charged.
Do you know if there were cases that couldn't be charged? I applaud what you're doing. It is the most sickening, disgusting thing. We don't even want to talk about it.
Ms. Broke can answer that.
Okay.
There was a case recently where the individual that was assisting the woman in having sex with the dogs and filming it was not able to be charged because he physically wasn't having sex with the dogs. He was just assisting the woman to have sex.
Which would not fall under the current
which
bestiality
does not fall under the current statute or animal cruelty.
Okay, so have any other states adopted this yet?
There have been 5 states that have adopted the same language as this in the past year. Texas was most recent.
Okay. Okay, I have a specific question. On page 3, we could just talk about this, is something that concerns me. I talked to Representative Stefanski about it. Hopefully we can fix this because I think it could be problematic. Well, on page 2, line 16, it says animal means non-human, dead, or alive. So if you take that in the new statute that you're proposing, and we put it, and then you look at on page 3, it says shall not harbor, own, or possess, or exercise control over any animal, and not reside in any household where an animal is present, engage in an occupation, whether paid or unpaid. And now here's where my concern comes in. What about a person, if they're charged and they go to jail, we can't send them to a prison where there's animals, where there's livestock, and there are presently jails that do have farm animals. So we can't go there. There are no vegan jails. So, that's a concern that I have. And then there's the employment issue.
Okay, can we go through?
Sure.
Well,
okay.
If you look at it, the way the law is defined, it specifically says a household or a job, and prison is neither a household nor a job.
Okay.
So I think for that first point, I think the way it's currently defined.
Well, that's a point. That's aside from
Okay.
the other 2 issues.
Okay.
That's an issue that's not addressed in here. But the constitutional issues that I fear might be in here is the employment restrictions and the housing restriction. If after they get out of prison, if we have a vegan prison, we're going to send them to. Because what about a chicken? A chicken is a dead animal. So I don't know how we're going to fix this. They can't go back and live with their parents in their parents' house if they have a dog, because it does say a dead animal, and so we can't find them.
Well, the dog example, you're 100% correct in that the person, if their family has a dog, but that being said, there are using that same example, a person who's convicted of child molestation and is not allowed to work or operate in a household with children of a certain age, if their parents are watching or custodians of their grandchild, that person can't go back to that household either, and that's been upheld repeatedly as being constitutional and as far as a dead animal that is for consumption is food that is no longer defined.
But it doesn't say that. It just says dead animal.
If that were the case, then if someone, what's that?
Does that only apply to this section for dead? We're talking about where you're abusing the animal.
Why don't you?
Sorry, the way I was reading it is that it only applies to that section where you're only talking about abusing the animal. And so, and as gross as this is, people actually do have sex with dead animals for the purpose of
Right.
this.
So the reason why the statute says dead or alive is because if a person's having sex with a live animal or a dead animal, it's still bestiality. As far as your other constitutional concern regarding someone having, fried chicken or something like that, that is no longer an animal. It is considered food by definition.
Valarie.
Hang on just a second.
Okay.
Okay. Well, okay, Senator Morrell, we need to clarify this. Staff agrees with me that it is very broad. And because it does say, if you look on page 2, it says for purposes of this section, and it includes that in there. And this is extremely gross. I wish we weren't not having this conversation, but we are.
I wish we weren't having it too.
But we do need to fix this.
If your point of clarification is that you want to give some greater tightening language regarding live and dead animal, I am not opposed in principle to that.
Well, it's not just that, but it's the residing, the occupation, the jail. What if it is challenged in court? And what if it is ruled unconstitutional? I know we've talked about this. We've had a couple of conversations about going in and striking in your bill, adding back in the strike that says with an animal. And I know we talked about. We said it kind of.
You're talking about retaining the bestiality language in the sodomy law.
Just in case, even if we did it for a year to see if this would be upheld in court.
Okay. I don't believe in having 2 statutes on the books just in case. I think that's a very dangerous precedent to
Well, okay,
set.
but this is very broad, and I don't think it's going to be upheld in court. And then what are we going to have to prosecute people on?
This law is very similar to the law we use for child molestation, which has been upheld in the courts over and over again. There are plenty of people who, when states started passing child molestation law, restricting people's vocation, saying you cannot interact with children, people brought those challenges saying, well, I'm someone that works in daycares. I should be back in a daycare. And the court said, no, as a condition in the law, since you were convicted of doing this heinous act, you don't get to work in daycare. So if a person is convicted of bestiality and they want to go work at a poultry processing plant, I think the courts can say, sorry, you can't work at a poultry processing plant. Now, also,
But they can't go to Walmart either. If there's
when an animal is packaged for food,
This 3-minute debate is up.
okay,
okay, can we say asked and answered, Mr. Chairman?
Asked and
There
answered.
you go. Asked and
Okay.
answered.
All right.
Thank you.
so how can we tighten that language?
If we want to talk about the saying that food is not included as part of dead animal, I am happy to work on that language with you.
And what about the person that gets out of jail that has no place to go because their parents has a
Then their
parakeet?
parents have to pick between the parakeet and their kid. That's
Okay.
that's what that means. Just like if the parents had a convicted child molester as a child, they were the guardians of a minor child. They would have to decide whether or not.
Asked and answered.
There you go.
Okay, well,
Do you have an amendment,
Yes, I
Representative
do.
Hodges? Okay. If she has an amendment, let's do this. Let's let Representative Marcel ask her question.